Hello?
Here we are.
Pete! I'm Philip!
Is that what noise you make when I poke your arm?
Today, Corona. Today, we are on May Thomas Trash Talk. We are talking about merchandising.
Oh my god.
Specifically, the topic that I want to discuss is merchandising differences between the different countries.
Ah, yes. What is released in the US where we have no brains, and what is released in the UK where you have taste.
Then Japan also is like a whole nother level of like
and then
extra.
Japan is like details.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with Japan. Japan recently released this scale, like 1-for-1 recreation of the Thomas like season 1 model with Annie and Clarabelle.
Oh, the filming model.
Yes.
Okay, I was like
go
fucking
buy the train. If I remember correctly, it's like somewhere around $2,000. Like it's a lot, but it's beautiful.
I mean, it would have to be.
But like it's
for that money.
a lot. It also comes with different faces, so you can get like angry Thomas, and I think that's all I would just have him. I just have him run around and be like, I hate this, I hate people, or people suck. And then Claire being like, shut the fuck up. That's the level of quality for Japan.
Yeah.
So I feel like Japan's like at the top. I don't know what other merchandise they have, because Japan also just has random weird merchandise for children.
In line with what they do with merchandise for any other properties as well. It's going to be tiny, it's going to have a bunch of variations, it's going to be cute, it's going to be detailed.
Yeah.
Which, like...
That's Thomas.
Yeah.
That fits Thomas's brand. So then we go over to the UK. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of Thomas merchandise.
In that store.
Well, okay, so to give you fair perspective, we're going to switch this up. We're going to go to the US. So if you go to the US, what stores can you find Thomas merchandise in?
Any of your local toy stores. And like Toys R Us, and if that still existed.
So here's
and
the
Walmart,
problem.
and Target.
So you can
and train stores, and like Party City, and like.
Okay, Party City doesn't have toys; they have party supplies.
They have toys that go inside the piñata.
Okay, those aren't toys. That's candy and
We're
whistles.
discussing merchandise.
Anyways, so most common Walmart, Target, a little bit of Barnes and Noble, maybe.
Yeah.
But your selection is limited to about 3 different versions of a Trackmaster, 1 or 2 of the big like $60 whatever machine things that is out that year, the minis, maybe 2 or 3 take-alongs, and then books, and that is it.
When did the wooden railway stop being like pushed? My sister was super into collecting that, like
in the 90s. So
early
when
2000s.
Britt was in charge, they had obviously she wasn't in charge of merchandising. Who knows? There was a lot of push with the merchandise. You could always find trains.
Yeah.
You could always find a ton of them. And there was a good variety. It usually was the Ertl or ERTL, whatever you pronounce it, and then which was the heavy metal die-cast brands, which were more accurate than any of the other trains that have ever existed, other than like the model trains, and then the wooden railway. And the reason why the wooden railway was such a success was because you had all of the pieces of the tracks, and then the big board, and they were wooden, so they lasted this. So then they were more expensive to purchase, so they were more of an investment.
Yeah.
But
that's how my mom viewed them.
Yeah. And the quality of them was much better. And then I would say they started to trickle out around 2010. They started to like slowly, like less people were buying them. And then in like 17, they switched it to that weird, I don't know if you remember this, that weird like half painted thing.
Oh,
that
you showed me
thing.
those in the store. Those were great. Yes, you dragged me into the Thomas aisle because that's what you do every time.
And then it was awful, and then they didn't sell at all, and then they said, shit, we got to switch these back, and then nobody was buying them, so now they're trying to be like, I don't know what to do. But then the problem being, like, Toys R Us was one of the big, more common stores that you could go to get Thomas merchandise, and now you can't do that anymore. The biggest store, I think, in the U.S. that you can go to is in Strasbourg. because I remember going there as a kid, and my mom didn't buy me anything. It was very sad. We went on the train. It was fine. But, like, we walked in the store, and I had a meltdown. Even my brother was like, whoa, this is a lot.
Sean?
Yes, and because I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the time, maybe.
Oh, jeez, okay.
So I was like peak running around that store. But then I don't know what it looks like now because I haven't been there since like 1995.
Yeah.
6, I don't know when that was. And so eventually we're going to end up back in that area and we're going to go and see what's left of the store. But that's it. That's like really it for the US. Then you go to UK, and so the reason why, as Katie pointed out, I was nuts in the gift shop was because there was so much merch. And I was like, and it was merch that was exclusive to the UK. Like, this was UK specific Thomas Land merch. It was specific to, there were clothes and hats, and I was trying on everything and be like, can I make this work? I don't even know what I
It
bought.
was child
What
size.
did I buy? We just bought the eraser, right?
No, did you end up buying the little baby kit?
I did not.
You kept debating it.
I kept debating because I didn't have room in the backpack.
Yeah, no, we only bought the eraser.
I was very close to buying this, like, baby set because it was so nice.
You know.
Oh, it was
for
so
his
nice.
baby.
That I don't have. It's me. I'm the baby. Mattel, my message for you is figure some shit out because I'm done having this issue.
Can I tell you, as someone whose favorite brand got taken over by Mattel after I stopped
American
collecting,
Girl. Yeah.
the glory days are done. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're done.
That's what I figured.
It's gonna be. It turned into a cash grab so fast, not even funny. Like, nah.
This is kind of off topic, but still
Yeah.
on topic with merchandising questions.
Yeah.
How as I think we've come to the conclusion is that the merchandising for Thomas is all over the place now,
Mhm.
whereas in the 90s it was just everyone wanted it.
Yeah.
And everyone had it, and there was availability everywhere. And now it's kind of like,
Now it's
except in the
sibling
UK.
and cousin hand-me-downs. You get a family member's wooden railway set.
As the other person gets too old for it, yeah. What I was going to ask was, in relation to that with discussing American Girl, do you see that the demand has gone down and that the quality has also gone down, or do you feel like the demand is kind of like it's just
The
tripling?
demand has gone up.
Okay.
Their sales have continued to do well because it used to be so. The first American Girl place opened while I was like actively collecting. It opened in Chicago. It did gangbusters business. Then they opened New York, and then they started opening American Girl stores because for years at the beginning, they had one warehouse in Wisconsin that they shipped everything out of. You had to order via catalog. There was nowhere to purchase these things in person. Even if you went to the showroom at the company headquarters, you couldn't purchase things there. I went to that showroom. It was like a mini museum. You couldn't make in-person purchases. They're everywhere now. Like, there's one in Orlando, and they still do fantastic business. They have, what they've done is they've changed, the quality level of the dolls has gone down while the price either stayed the same or went up. Then they started switching out stuff more often. So you felt this, if I don't get this now,
You're
it
not
might be
gonna have it,
discontinued. Whereas previously, they opened with 4 or 5 characters, added a few over time, and once Mattel bought it, they retired popular characters so that there was a big push because they were leaving, and then re-released them with an entirely new wardrobe. Because that's what they did with Felicity, and that's
Now
what they did with Samantha.
here's the difference between how they're handling that and how they're handling Thomas's.
Yeah.
I feel like business decision wise, that's a smart decision. It's irritating
It's
as hell.
super irritating, yeah.
But I feel like from a business perspective, that makes way more sense than what they're doing with Thomas,
Yeah.
which is blah, blah. That's
American
the
Girl
official, like,
has-
quote me on that.
American Girl has a easier to target fan base.
And if they had listened to me 5 years ago and said, hey, let's stretch this age range out, and we finally reached that point, and now they can't find their audience anymore.
From a marketing standpoint, it's easier to sell American Girl.
Because they're going to invest in dolls, like that's
They're going to invest
be...
in dolls, and it's the dolls and the accessories and the books and the clothes.
And the fact that you have the books to go with them is a huge selling point. And we don't. That's another
'Cause
thing.
the-
Is that
'cause-
we don't really sell the books with the trains over here. Or
You
like,
also
push
have
the
your
books.
gateway drug for American Girl, which is Bitty Baby. It's the same company.
Bitty Baby.
Bitty Baby, yeah. Olivia had her
She's
first
making
Bitty
this up.
Baby at 1. Oh my god, this doll was almost as big as Olivia. She'd like carry it through the house, and it was the cutest thing because this doll was almost her size. And then so like little ones would get into Bitty Baby, and then graduate into American Girl. Like that's a very honored tradition type thing too, because they were really high quality baby dolls. They had the soft body, the plastic arms and legs, and then there were like 10 or 12 different combinations of skin tone and hair color and eye color, which you also usually couldn't find in baby dolls 20 years ago.
I'm gonna ask this and it's gonna really piss you off and it's
Yeah?
gonna be really funny. So sometimes boys like dolls. So how did the male representation transition?
So it
I
was
know there
about-
are male
It was
dolls.
about 15 years ago that they introduced Bitty Twins. Bitty Twins were supposed to be kind of the in-between step between Bitty Baby and American Girl, and it was a boy-girl set, and they had hair. So the Bitty Babies were molded head, so they didn't have hair for a kid to mess up. Bitty Twins had hair, and they were supposed to look more like toddlers rather than babies, and that's where the first male doll was introduced, targeted young. Then they started being able to sell them separately. Then when they saw that the sales took off, and then they kind of do interchangeable. It was much later that they added a male doll in the American Girl age range.
Okay,
But they tested it first with Bitty.
that's good to know. I feel like going to the store here in Orlando, there's more than there have been for a while. Like there are more of the American Girl size males, and now we started to look at more. I don't know why they switched to an American Girl thing.
Mattel! They also did they had more things that weren't necessarily like girl focused. They went through when Mattel bought them out, they went through phases of trying entirely new toy lines. And there was a point in time when there were these tiny rooms with tiny furniture, and you could like decorate a room. It was supposed to appeal to that, like the kids that were all playing The Sims. It was supposed to be like real life Sims, and you could make a whole bunch of rooms. That didn't sell well. They tried a historical line of dolls that were aimed at the older teenage girls. I own almost all of them, only 3 of which we paid full price for. Then they didn't sell well, and we picked the rest of them on clearance. So they started at $50 a pop, but you could play with them. They were display dolls, but they also came with historical books, which were excellent books. The books did well with both audiences, though. It's just that the boys were less likely to be like, I want the dresses.
Yeah.
Generally.
It's hard to figure out who to market things to, and I think it's easier to. I think American Girl has proven that it's easier to do that, and I think if they stretched out the age range of Thomas, they would have an easier time of selling. And they had higher quality merchandise.
It has a representation, or has a societal expectation of it being a preschool focused brand.
And that bothers me because it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. I'd say Thomas, at its current state on a television series, can go up to age 10 to 12 at this point, based on the writing and the animation.
Yeah.
And they're not marketing it that way still.
Nope.
And that's a problem. This is why the show is stopping for a while, and we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they'll get higher quality merchandise, and maybe they'll see better sales. I think it's what it comes down to, is if I look at something and I go, well, that's cheap looking, or that doesn't look anything like the character, which is why we got all the ERTL, or ERTL, however, trains, was because those were so... This is from an Easter egg.
Yeah, there he is. At least he has the correct number of wheels.
This is Wooden Railway. That's from the 70s.
That's what I'm most familiar with. Now, we had Wooden Railway, but then we had 3 battery operated ones that could pull entire trains. And they also were always labeled, which was great.
And then this is the Trackmaster.
Ooh. Why are there birds on it?
Because they're seagulls. They have different... In order to sell more merchandise, what they would do is take the different characters, kind of like the minis, and just paint them over with different things.
Too bad that my first thought
So
was,
then, for example,
single babies.
Like then you have like Streamline Thomas.
Yike.
I love Streamline Thomas. Compare all of those. The very few like ERTLs that I have, like accuracy wise,
Yeah.
that is so close.
It looks like he has buck teeth.
I would take them. I used to take these trains everywhere.
Yeah, I can tell.
Visual representations for merchandise. I don't know why this video went in so many directions.
That go?
So Mattel, please do me a favor and fix yourselves in the U.S. I mean, if I have to move to the UK, I mean, this country's doing pretty weird stuff right now, so I might as well just like figure out that exit plan. Stuff. It's doing so much weird stuff that I have to change my voice. Do you have a specific favorite piece of merchandise that's ever been put out? Comment that below. Which country do you feel best represents Thomas merchandise? Do any of you have siblings or do you have an American Girl doll, and do you feel like the brand is significantly better or worse than the Thomas brand in terms of merchandising and sales and marketing? Comment below. I'm asking you to write essays at this point, y'all. Thanks for watching. Like this video, share this video on all social media, just subscribe to our channel. We'll see you with another video at some point.
Someday.